There's a lot of conflicting information being thrown at you. As soon as you start searching longevity and the algorithms start working on your phone, you're going to get all sorts of things.
Successful wealth creation often involves cultivating those positive habits. How do the concepts, I guess, apply to the pursuit of longevity?
If you've got the belief, you believe in the science, you believe in what you're doing, then when you put the positive habits in, then everything, there's a purpose for it, there's a reason. You're getting the feedback.
Welcome to Perth Property Insider, where you will learn how to grow your wealth and improve your life using Perth property. Our show is brought to you by Investors Edge Real Estate, the highly rated and award-winning property management, sales and buyers agency servicing the whole of Perth. Now, here's your host, Jared Mann.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Salem and Mel. I'm very excited to be sharing your longevity journey and mine with our listeners and hopefully inspire them today.
Thank you very much for having us, Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
So tell our listeners a bit about yourselves and how you got into the field of longevity.
Melissa and I met when we were close to 50, and we really loved each other and the feelings we had. And we felt more attractive, we felt more loved, we felt more connected than ever. And we decided that we wanted to hold on to that feeling for at least another 50 years. So when we looked at each other and thought, what does that look like? We decided that we want to live to at least 100, and not just live, but enjoy life, be able to remember each other's names and still travel and have fun and be able to sit down on the ground and have picnics. And we decided at that stage that to do that, we wanted to know firstly if it was doable, and the quick answer was yes. And then we went on a journey around the world seeking knowledge on how to do that. We started reading lots of books and listening to workshops and podcasts and interviewing lots of people. Melissa's been interviewing a bunch of people over 90 who are well, to learn from them, learn the secrets. And then we started to apply a lot of those learnings and principles to ourselves. When we started to feel better and behave better, our friends wanted to know what we did. And because we love to help, we started to share these ideas.
Oh, yes, I've been asking you both as well. What are you doing?
Also, our kids, they like to tease us while we're rollerblading or doing some random thing that embarrasses them. So, yes, we've been feeling very well.
Yeah, initially they said, why don't you start acting your age? And then they changed their tune because they saw us even happier and more energy. And Paris ended up buying us a pair of ballet shoes the other day so we can start joining her in beginners adult ballet classes.
Something new to try.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But try anything. But having fun and trying something new. But also, as we'll get to later on, it's about stimulating the brain to learn new things.
Fabulous. Well, I've seen the evolution and every time I speak to you, you're always diving deep into some other research, or you've got something else that's working really well. And so that's why I've really loved our conversations, and also seeing you turn this into a business over the last few years has been exciting from the outsider's view as well.
And just like yourself, Jared, if you want to give people the right advice about the property market in a certain location or a particular state or country, and if you want to know where interest rates are going, you need to be on top of that data and other people's research and views. And that's what we have to do. So there's a lot of conflicting advice out there about, there's some people say, you have to go vegan. And some people say you need to eat more protein. And so what we've done is we've tried to distill it and customize it. So what is the right thing for Jared is not necessarily the right thing for Melissa or for Salem. And we go through staying on top of the new research, but also look at that person's biological needs and their genetics. And that's how we were able to give people very customized, personalized advice.
Also, knowledge is changing rapidly.
Oh, absolutely. So over the next few years, things are going, more research is happening more quickly than it ever has in the past.
I know you've both been doing a lot of research into and interviewing people that are over 90 years old for your book. What have you learnt so far, and what's some of these stories been like? Because that must be fascinating.
It is. It's amazing. I really get a lot of pleasure out of meeting people and listening to their stories. these people are over 90, so they've been around for a while. They've learned things about sharing their purpose and being with community. I find that, in particular, last week, I was talking to a gentleman called Jack, and Jack's 97. So I spent a couple of hours chatting away with Jack. And one of the things that he said to me, Jared, is that he has to get out of the house every day. He needs to connect. He needs to talk to people. And that is pretty much his only rule, his secret to longevity. He also serves people. He helps people. So in particular, that night he was going to his, I think it was a Lions Club meeting, and he's 97. He lives at home by himself, and he was catering for the evening. So he was busy, moving vegetables around in the oven and things like that while I was there. And yeah, incredible. But I think it is about, for most of the people I've spoken to, it's about community. It's about helping and sharing. And even what you do, you share your information to help other people. So you're going to live a long time, Jared.
At least by that metric, I will.
Absolutely. But I am seeking other people as well. So we're going to Egypt in about 3 weeks' time, and we're going to interview some people over there. And yeah, looking for healthy people mentally and physically.
I guess you can combine your love for travel with finding some of these older people, centurions that have lived over 100 and stuff. So that'll be fabulous if you can combine the two.
Yeah, most definitely. Yes.
So we want to go beyond the blue zones. So the blue zones that are in the media is what everybody's studying. What we're looking for is normal people who are over 90, who are physically and mentally well in all aspects of the world. So we want our research to be more diverse, to see, it's not just the magic water on a particular Greek island, or it's not a particular fruit. We want to look at what's in common all around the world that everybody can do. And if your listeners have got friends or family over 90, please reach out to us up.
Yeah, we'd love that. Thank you.
We'll put your details in the show notes and they can get in touch. But what I have noticed is that many people focus on living longer, but often you emphasize living better for longer. So can you explain a bit of the distinction and why it's important? Because until you broke this down for me, I was more just focusing on that end age too, and not thinking about the better part.
Right. Yes, look, that's a really good question. And I think that is a game changer for when people understand the difference. When I ask someone, how long do you want to live? Most people will say, not too long, because I don't want to be miserable. And there is no point living to 100 if from 80 to 100, those last 20 years are filled with pain, suffering. You've lost your memory, so you don't know people around you. It's difficult to breathe, can't walk, can't enjoy life. But if you can actually live to 99.5 with good health, being able to travel, have deep conversations with your great-grandchildren and your friends, and still, walk around the golf course and do those things, and then suddenly fade in those last, 2 to 3 months of life. We want people to live really well until the end and then suddenly go. We don't want people to be suffering and decaying for those 20 years. So it's not about breaking a world record of saying I lived the longest, but it's I enjoyed all of my life until the end.
Because dying's a part of life, and dying healthy is actually a thing. Whereas we think of dying as something that happens to sick people.
Yes, we don't want this. We don't want the last few years to be a gradual decline. We want people to live their best life right till the end.
Fabulous. Well, that certainly got me a lot more excited about living longer. And I had to explain to my wife, no, we're not. I'm talking about actually having a good quality for as long as possible to the end. So that changed things around for her when I reframed it for her as well.
Oh, fantastic. Look, I haven't got the slide here to share with you, but if people go to the website, there's a graph there that I often show people about the natural decline versus what longevity means. And people can actually, when they see the lines, it's a little bit clearer to understand. People say, oh, yes, I want that.
So just as there's foundational principles for wealth creation, and I spend lots of episodes deep diving on these, and what I'm finding from more time I spend with you is that there's also foundational principles for longevity and well-being. So take us through a few of these and what comes up for you.
Yes, thanks, Jared. This is a very common question because when people are thinking about getting older, there's no point having a fantastic memory if your knees don't work and you can't get up and walk. There's no point being able to walk, but have such brittle bones that any twist or fall, you're going to end up with broken bones or a fractured spine or things like that. So we want to look at, we call them the pillars, or you can call them foundations. So we want people to be well and young and functional in all aspects of aging. So when we talk about people and take them on a journey of what they want that last week or year of life to look like, we want to know, do you want to have a good functioning brain? What's your heart going to look like? Is your balance going to be very good? Are you going to be using a frame or a stick with walking unaided? Are you going to be living in a care facility, or are you living at home? Are you surrounded by friends, or are you sad and lonely? So we look at mental health, we look at mental function, we look at muscle strength.
Look at flexibility.
Yeah. Do you want to be able to put your own shoes and socks on, or do you need someone to dress you? So we find out what is important for each person, and then we find out where people are at the moment and help them map that path forward so they're able to do all of those things, if they want to do them, at the age that they choose.
And that's really makes me start to then draw the parallels, I guess, between having a plan for your investing and having a plan for your longevity. And what sort of connection, I guess, do you see between creating health and creating wealth? Because as I've gotten deeper into it, there's so many parallels, and it excites me because I've been so focused on the wealth. Now I'm enlarging the picture to how do we take these principles and apply them across to, health and longevity. So,
Jared, that's exactly what we were talking about offline before. It's that think and grow rich principle, where it's really important to start with the end in mind. So we work. We're like yourself. We're like a financial planner or an advisor, where it's not randomly go and buy properties wherever you want to at whatever price and whatever time of the year. It's important to have a big picture where you want to end up. So if you speak to a financial advisor or planner or wealth creator and you say to them, I want X number of properties with that much passive income by the time I'm 65, then what you do is you start with them wherever you meet them. So you might meet them at 55 and you say, okay, so over the next 10 years, you might want to buy one property every 2 years, and that gives you that 5 properties. But if you start working with that same person at 35, arriving to that end goal is going to be so much easier because you've had the cumulative effect or the compounding return on your investment, and your health is no different. If you start at 40 doing some of these things that I've recommended, it's going to be so much easier for you to achieve your long-term goal than if you come to me at 75 or 80. And then doesn't mean that we can't achieve it, but you have to work a lot harder and potentially have a few more sacrifices. Whereas when you start younger, you can achieve it.
And you also, the habits are instilled in you earlier, which is great.
And the other thing is, just like when you advise people, you don't want to just know what their end goal is. You want to know where are they currently? What's their current, how many properties do they have, or
current spending habits, and
and are they maintaining their properties that they currently have?
Exactly. So we're like that advisor scenario where we're like a GPS. We know where the final destination is, but we need to know now, where are you now? You can't say to Google, take me to Jared's office if you don't know Jared's address. So we need a very clear, specific direction of where that end goal is. And then we need to know exactly where you are today. And that's where, you turn on location services in your car or in your phone. And then the other thing that happens is there's unforeseen circumstances. Just like not many people predicted that COVID's going to happen and what that will do to the market up or down or to interest rates. And the same thing can happen to health. So, we may have a perfect plan in place to get you or someone to a particular age they want, but they may not have predicted that a bus is going to come and do something to their foot, or something may happen to a loved one, or their job might change, or they might have eaten something they shouldn't have, or
they could break an ankle and can't keep up with their fitness regime.
Yeah, accidents can happen. So just like a GPS would do, we recalibrate. The GPS can't say, I can't take you from where you are to Jared's office. What it says is, there's a car accident here. Let's go around left, right, go straight, do a little detour around that roundabout, and now let's get you back on track. And we do the same thing with the longevity plan. So that's why we work with people over a period of time. So if there is a setback for any reason, we will get them back onto their desired outcome.
And we work together with psychologists and exercise physiologists and people that can also help get them back on that right track.
That's right. It's a custom plan.
Yeah, fabulous. I really love you helping me work out what's important to do now in the moment towards that larger vision, and just making it easy. So it's like, you need this, go speak to this person. This is this next steps to take. And I like that accountability piece as well, because when you're trying to do these things by yourself, it's so easy to get off track. Before you know it, you're off in a completely other direction that you didn't intend to, head down. And by meeting up with you regularly, I'm just finding that keeps me accountable and keeps me on track and keeps me excited about it too.
It's confusing as well. There's a lot of conflicting information being thrown at you. As soon as you start searching longevity and the algorithms start working on your phone, you're going to get all sorts of things. So yeah, it is good to have a focus and a plan.
So tell us, Mel, successful wealth creation often involves, cultivating those positive habits. How do the concepts, I guess, apply to the pursuit of longevity? Because as Salem mentioned, if we can get some of these things right and get in and just make them automatic, it starts to make the whole journey so much easier the earlier we make these changes to successful habits. So,
yes, a very good question, Jared. It's around believing, and it's about believing that if you make the changes, then it will affect you in a positive manner. So if you've got the belief, you believe in the science, you believe in what you're doing, then when you put the positive habits in, then everything, there's a purpose for it. There's a reason you're getting the feedback. So, for example, we've put a lot of habits into our daily lives that we've been doing, and we've noticed the change. Our friends have noticed the change. So things like in the mornings, it's about sleep. So we look at getting the right light in our eyes in the morning. We get up, we do some yoga. After yoga, yoga's pretty much a non-negotiable. It's like brushing our teeth. So we sort of just get up, go downstairs and do yoga. And you never regret doing yoga. It's a beautiful thing. After that, we tend to do a meditation. And within that meditation, it's around an intention setting. So it's manifesting what we'd like our day to be like. So it's not about what you want to achieve, but how you want to be. So if you embody a sense of kindness or gratitude or whatever it is that you would like to take with you in that day, before we start our official day, we're already in that mindset. So that works really well for us. And we tend to go and sit down and have a cup of tea, and we go into reflection mode. So Salem's he's a very organized man. So he spends that time doing his to-do lists and maybe answering emails. Whereas for me, I tend to spend that time writing poetry around calm, cultivating calm, and about that beautiful quiet space. So yeah, that works for us. But it's also about food as well, habits for food. So we're quite organised, not always because we are human, but we grow things on the balcony. So we've always got something green that we can grab. And yeah, buy healthy food from the supermarket. Just it makes life easier. So by doing those things,
well, simple things like having the right food in the pantry and the fridge.
Yes.
When you get hungry, you're going to reach for those things. Whereas if you put, fast food full of colouring and preservatives and sugar in the pantry to snack on, and you're hungry, that's what you're going to start eating. Whereas if you have healthy food as a snack, it's much easier to develop those habits where you don't have to think about it. You open the fridge and there's some hummus and some carrot sticks and cucumbers, versus opening the pantry door and there's some salted chips and that are deep fried and, seed oil. Yeah.
Much harder to resist when it's right in front of you.
Well, and they've become very good scientifically about making food more addictive. So that by having certain colours in food, by having certain textures and crunch and feel in the mouth, it makes you want to have more of them. So you're not thinking about the food as a natural food. You're actually tasting these artificial stimuli that your brain loves, and it's an addictive thing. So
that big sugar hit.
Yes, it's a little bit like a drug. Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, you've been running through stuff that is work for you and your habits. And I know from the work you do, you help people customize things that are going to work for them and to get them to their end goals. So I guess if people are hearing that and thinking, oh, that doesn't sound like me, well, you're about creating something that's going to work for them, aren't you?
Look, we like to work with people to get them to do what they're open to doing. So we've got a couple of clients who don't want to give up smoking, as an example. Well, then they know that smoking cigarettes is not that great for their health, but they don't want to give up. And
it's a social thing for them.
So I'm not advocating smoking, don't get me wrong, but I help those people make the changes that they are wanting to do, but not making them do anything. So we present people with the information, we give them choice, we support them on what they want to do. Just like you don't work with a client and say, you have to buy something in Melbourne if that's not what they want to do.
I just got off the phone with a similar conversation. It's like, here's the most optimum plan, but now we're working out what fits within their comfort zone, and we'll start heading in the right direction, and we can update the plan, and we can, before we know it, we're making progress. You're getting momentum, and what you thought was possible for yourself changes, and you open up, and then you get into a whole range of new things that you didn't originally think you were going to. So
those incremental gains, those small changes, and you end up in a different pathway.
So both in health and wealth, there's elements of risk, I guess. And how can individuals approach risk management in the domain of health? Because I guess the big risks are that we're probably going to die or something's going to happen earlier than we think.
Hit by a bus. Yes.
Look, the thing about risk is there's some things that are avoidable. And we, in the workshops that we run, we talk about silly ways to die. And silly ways to die is like riding a motorbike at 150 kilometers an hour with no helmet. So you can reduce that risk by maybe riding at 110. You can reduce that risk further by wearing a helmet. You can reduce that risk further by wearing good protective gear and probably not going out when it's wet and the ground's oily. So there are multiple risks that we talk to people about. There's also ways to avoid dying from silly things. So it's not just, text driving. It's not just drink driving or this, extreme example of the motorbike. But also, I don't want people to die from things that you can, like certain cancers. The sooner you detect a cancer, the more likely you are to get an optimal treatment rather than waiting until it's metastasized and then you try to get treatment for it.
Secondary location, and it becomes so much harder.
Exactly. So I want people to actually engage with their GPs, and we work with the doctors. We're not a doctor replacement service. We are the financial advisor planner. We don't go and actually do things. So, just like as a doctor doesn't do what we do, but the doctor does prescribing certain medications or may refer someone to a specialist or send them off for an MRI. What we do is we work with the GP and say, GP, what do you know about this person? And then these are some things we found, and we work together with your professional team. So if you have a favorite physio or a podiatrist or a chiro or a gym instructor that you like working with, we want to work with those people as a team for your optimum health and avoid injuries. So as we get older, an injury, like say someone who's 75 who breaks a hip, their chances of dying increase significantly from a broken hip because they become immobile, because it affects their emotional health. There are certain things that if we can avoid injury, we can continue to exercise. Even if you sprain an ankle, Jared, you're probably not going to continue with that team sport you're playing for 4 to 6 weeks. So I want you to be part of that team. I want you to stay fit and healthy, because not playing doesn't only make you less social, but you feel less energy and your heart is getting less exercise. So as a whole, you end up aging more quickly from an injury. So we want to prevent injury, but stay active and safe.
And I hear the big four getting thrown around a lot. What are the big four?
What you mean talking about the big 4 ways of dying?
Yes.
It's often referred to as the horsemen, the 4 horsemen of the
The 4 horsemen, yeah.
Yes. Look, heart disease is one of the main ways of people suffering near the end, and that involves things like strokes. That includes things like heart attacks and angina. Then you've got metabolic syndrome, so that's like diabetes and other ovarian syndrome type things. Then you've also got cancers.
You got cancer, which you obviously just mentioned, so that's another one of the big ones.
That's right. Some of the cancers we still early on in the research. Some of them there's not a lot you can do to avoid, but there are many cancers that are avoidable, and many cancers that are treatable if caught really early on, but less so later on. And then finally, there's the neurodegenerative diseases. So we're talking about Parkinson's, we're talking about dementia, Alzheimer's, and all of those. I think that's probably the worst way to go. But for me, I would rather be well until the last week of life. And I'm not saying none of those things are going to happen, but if any of those things happen at the end rather than for 20 years before the end.
Yeah. And I guess all the things you're putting in place help us, live longer, better for longer, and prevent these showing up, or when they find them early so we can do something about them.
My mother has Alzheimer's, and she's declining at the moment, and it's really, really difficult. And I look at it in a way that I can do everything that I can, because I believe that it's not fixed in my genes. Having watched Mum go through what she is going through is heartbreaking, and I'm still trying to help her as she goes through the stages. But brain health for us is very, very important. So we do lots of things to try to, we eat very well. We eat good food for our brains. We do exercises for our brains. We're learning languages, things to try to help prevent as best we can.
The brain is no different to any muscle in your body. The brain is not a muscle, but it works in the same sort of way. As if you exercise a particular part of your brain, it will grow. It'll create new synapses, and so the more connections there are in your brain, the better it's going to last for longer. So it's never too late to start learning new things. And in fact, you should always be looking at learning new things, no matter how old.
Big part of what was involved in us working together so far with me was you had me go and do blood tests, and it was funny because I had the results and showed them to my GP, and he was sort of more or less just said, oh yeah, that's sort of fine with everything. But there's fine, isn't there? And then there's sort of excellent and optimum. So it'd be worth explaining a bit about how you go deeper and try to optimize these things rather than just accept stuff.
Yes.
GPs don't have a lot of time. They see you for a short window.
Yeah, look, the thing about the pathology tests is the way the normal range has come is from the people who've had blood tests. So often people who are tested are not well. So to get a range that is, in the red means you're actually quite sick. And it's really, when you look at a number of, this is good between this range and that range. And if you're in that range, then the doctors don't do anything about it. Whereas what we want to do is not wait until you're actually sick, so you have to go on a medication to treat a particular condition. We want to get you to the optimal number that makes you healthier for longer. So, for example, you might have an inflammatory marker that once you're over a certain range of inflammation, then you need to go on steroids or anti-inflammatory medication. Whereas what we want to do is actually bring that inflammatory marker down so it's not being a precursor to cancers or inflammatory bowel disease or eye degeneration or plaque formation in the brain. We want to reduce that inflammaging is a common word that people are using now, because inflammation is what causes aging in multiple areas of our cells. So we're not waiting until the cells are in that sick range. We want to actually get people's markers in the healthy and well range. And in certain cases, we want to get you at 40 to be having a biological age of a younger than what you currently are, because we want you, when you get to 100, to have a biological age of 80. So we want your bone density, for example, instead of saying normal bone density is X, we want you to have better bone density at your age. So when you get to 80 or 90, it's actually better than the average. Yeah, you don't want to be in the average of the 90-year-old. You want to be in the excellent of the 90-year-olds.
Makes sense. So you mentioned their biological age. Is that, I know you work on trying to grow younger, and is it actually possible to, move this number? Because I was pretty excited when I found out my biological age. I thought it was either going to motivate me one way or another. If it was higher than my current actual age, then it would motivate me to really pull my finger out and do things. But it also motivated me knowing that I'm biologically 8 years younger than my actual age. So that kind of showed me that I'm at least doing some things right and gave me encouragement to continue and, gave me more excitement to further optimize this. But,
Yeah, look, I'm very proud of you, Jared. I think there's two things, if I could share a little bit about, my experience working with you, is you have two things going for you. One is you've got good genes. So some people will age more quickly due to their genetic predisposition, and others will age more slowly. And the good news is about 80 to 85% of the aging process is through modifiable factors. So you're obviously doing good things. And it would have been interesting to have measured you 4 years ago and see what your age was like then, but it'll be interesting to measure you maybe in 6 to 12 months' time and see whether we're still reversing and still de-aging you, or at the least is if we can reduce the rate of aging. So what did you say you were from memory?
I was 8 years younger than...
8 years younger. So if by next year you say, for example, you become 8.5 years younger than your age, you're still not growing you're not aging as quickly as your number of birthdays. So we want you to slow down the rate of aging, or when people want to work really hard, we want them to reverse aging. And when you look at the aging graph, you're at your peak health between about 20 and 30. So my goal, I'm 46 biologically and 54 by number of birthdays. So it sounds like we're both about 8 years. And but I'm working hard at the moment because I actually want to reach my 40th again. I want to celebrate my 40th birthday, and then from there I'll decide whether I want to go back further or not. Hang 40.
So are you going to start celebrating those reverse birthdays as well? That could be a new concept for us. It's like,
Yes. Well, Melissa's only 44 as well. So she's doing even better than I am.
Well, it is interesting what you said earlier about, people around you asking you, what are you doing? And I've had that, especially with my basketball team, saying, you're just so much fitter, you seem so much happier, it just translates to other areas of your life as well. That's been fabulous.
That's fantastic. Well, you do look better, Jared. When I chat to you, you look more uplifted and you sound very positive. And it's nice to see that despite the lack of sleep at home on certain nights.
Yes, with a 6-month-old.
Sleep's important.
It has been funny, hasn't it, where you look at my sleep charts and you see that, 4:30 or 5 o'clock wake up on my sleep tracker, and yep. I'm glad it's only once a night, because it used to be more often than that too. So
only going to get better.
And sleep is one of the most important things. So focusing. So one of the big wins we have with people is when we help them to get a good sleep hygiene, they, in a very short period of time, feel a lot better. If we help someone reduce their cholesterol, it takes years for them to notice any difference, even though their cholesterol level might drop in 6 months. When no one notices, oh, my cholesterol level's better, it is doing less damage to their heart and their other vascular.
Guess that accumulates over, decades.
But when it's things like fitness and strength and sleep, we can make a big difference in that in a very short period of time. And that's when people feel that positive benefit of working with us, because, people like quick gratification as opposed to long-term investing.
That's it. So both health and wealth endeavors often involve, sacrificing. And I often think about, I want to live in the moment and I want to enjoy life along the way. How do you strike this balance, Mel? Because, I've seen some people just go way too far the other way, of completely addicted to that, being so disciplined that they don't enjoy anything. So
yes, yeah, that's a good question, Jared. It is about finding a balance. Life is about enjoying. It is about having fun, doing the things that lift you up and being around the people that bring you joy. So in order to do that, you don't want to be an extremist. So you've got to listen to your body. So we do have quite a very much a regular exercise routine. But if we're not feeling well, or if we're feeling tired, we take a day off. Rest is very, very important. And also pausing and taking time to reflect on where we've come, what we're doing. Also with food as well. So we eat very well. We eat really healthy food. And if we're at someone's house and they're making something and it's not really within what we normally eat, we will eat it. We will eat it with love. We'll be very grateful that they've made it for us, enjoy it. And then we will eat our normal food the next day. So we were in Portugal last year and we were cycling. We cycled about 500-600 kilometres over a week.
What was that all?
Yeah, from Porto down to Lisbon. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And I'm very partial to custard tarts. And as you know, Portuguese custard tarts are the best built. And well, I think they are anyway. So while we were cycling, we had more than our fair share of those because we're enjoying it. So it is about balance. Balance is very important.
And I find just knowing that you've got your routines and all of that's, 90% healthy, then I actually feel less guilty about letting go and, enjoying those other moments when they come up and not then, hanging guilt on yourself or on the other people around you because you're deviating from, how you are most of the time. So guilt's a horrible thing. It tears us up inside. And also if we're going to people's house and they say, oh, do you have dietary requirements? If we actually said to them what, we eat in a normal day, we wouldn't get invited to dinner. They'd be like, no, okay, it's those two. So yes, we just go with flow and enjoy it and get to taste something different. And it does take a while to normalize these things too. I remember when I first started out, I was all very full strict 100% of the time, but now I'm finding a bit more of a medium and, you don't want to not get invited anywhere, as you say.
Absolutely. You don't have to live a militant lifestyle. It's about balance.
Look, there are some people out there who go extreme and hardcore, and they won't travel on aeroplanes because that minimal amount of radiation that they might expose themselves to, or it might upset their perfect sleep scores, or they might not be able to eat the things that they can cook at home. Whereas for us, we love travel. Travel is one of our passions, and it's one of the reasons we got together. So we're not trying to break a world record on how long we live. We just want to enjoy it. We want to have a lot of life in our years.
And we've spoken a little bit in there about, I guess, some of the obstacles people face. What are some of the more common ones when they're trying to improve their health? And I guess, how can you start to help people overcome these? Because it can be pretty daunting.
I think the obstacles mostly are not avoidable, jump overable. Is there such a word? So it depends on how serious those obstacles are. So, for example, if let's just say you choose to give up smoking, but your partner still likes to smoke and won't give up, that is a bit of a deterrent. That's a little bit of an difficult for the relationship.
It's going to be hard in that sort of environment, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you surround yourself with friends who are, often drinking 6 to 9 beers per night, and that's what your social life is like, and on your health program it says, no more than 2 beers a night, then you need to find a balance of do I make new friends? Do I start going out less often? Do I start drinking light beer, or do I drink non-alcoholic beer? So there's no hard and fast rules about do's and don'ts, but it's about trying to work out which challenges there are and trying to work out how to overcome them. And part of it's about developing good habits. And we have a guy that works with us in the lab who is a habit specialist, and he uses some of the NLP and different kind of aspects of coaching where he helps people to put good habits in place so they're less likely to break them and avoid any upcoming obstacles that can come.
And also, a dietitian is very good at organising ways to organise your food in a practical manner, so it's achievable. So it's not, you're not putting a mountain of rules and restrictions in front of you. She works with your current lifestyle.
And it's about incremental gains, Jared. You may not want to do all of the things in the first year, but if you feel like the first year has been useful, then the second year, once the first bits have become just normal habits, then you start adding the next layer. So it may be that the first 3 months, just someone focuses on flossing their teeth to reduce their gum inflammation. And gum inflammation is a big predictor of cardiac disease. So if we just work on someone to just start flossing, we've given them 3-4 years of life already just from doing that. Once that becomes a habit and they don't have to think about flossing, then we start them doing some stretches, some gentle leg stretches or back stretches, or getting up after they've been at their desk for an hour or so. So then starting to improve their spinal health. Then we start working with them on their eye health and, looking away from the screen and looking into the distance until all of those things become little habits. So they don't feel like they're doing big things, but we're making small changes on a regular basis that over the period of 20 or 30 years end up massive.
Compounding, yeah. So tell us a bit about your process if the listeners do want to get help, because I've been going through it and I know we've touched on little parts of it as we've gone today, but how do you typically work with someone from the beginning?
Okay, so it's a 5-step process to begin with. So the first step is to do a genetic questionnaire. So we send a digital questionnaire that people fill in online. It takes about half an hour, 40 minutes, depends on how fast you're at typing. And we want to find out about your parents, your grandparents, and your current health. We use that measure rather than a DNA test because we find it's more actionable. So instead of saying, a DNA test might say, you're at higher risk of getting X cancer. Well, if there is no such cancer in your family, then we think that you probably don't have that, and there's no point stressing about it. But if we hear that, you've got two parents that have had dementia at a young age or a heart disease or whatever, we want to concentrate on those things that are likely that you've inherited. We then, at the second stage, we go into the detail. We dive down into the results and find out what extra information do we need to gather. Then step 3 is where the first one-on-one consultation happens. So if someone's in Perth, we like to do it face-to-face. If they're outside of Perth, we can do it via a Teams or Zoom, like a telehealth consult, where we go through what you and I went through in that visualization of seeing what someone's long-term dreams are and how long they want to live, what they want the quality of life to look like. And that sometimes can be confronting, so it's good for people to think a little bit about that before we have that meeting. And we look at where are they currently. And that's where we also answer some of those questions that came up from the deep dive to get more specific genetic information. At the end of that consultation, people leave with at least 3 actionable things to do to change in their life, things to start doing or stop doing that they choose. And we send people off for some blood tests. We can either send them off directly, or we can send them back to their GP with a letter saying, "Dear GP, can you please help us with getting these blood tests?" We then get those results and we plug them into the software that we've developed that is correlated with international aging clocks. And we can, from that, give you what your biological age is. That's step 4. So step 5 is when we have the second one-on-one meeting, and that's where the roadmap comes in. That's where we talk about, what are some things that have come up from the blood test that you either need to speak to a dietitian about, or speak to your GP about, or go and get further testing done, or get a bone density scan done. And at the same time, we don't just look at people's biological age, we look at people's functional age. So what's the flexibility, strength? We measure their other physiological cardiovascular health and flexibility and posture, because nobody wants to be, hunched over using not nobody, but most people we talk to don't imagine themselves, sitting in a wheelchair or using a frame walking at 80. What they imagine is a healthy version of themselves. So if you want to have a healthy version of yourself at 80 or 90, then we need a very healthy version of yourself currently. And that's where the first 5-step process happens. After that, it's up to people to however much help they want, whether they then come in 3 times a year or 5 times a year, or some people come in every fortnight. Depends on what their specific needs are and how much support they need.
And I've been seeing on your Facebook that you've been doing some workshops and presentations. Tell us a bit about those, because that might be another good way for people to get some more info if they like the sound of it, but not quite ready for organising a consult yet.
Yes, Jared, we are doing workshops we've been doing them for corporations, as well as we do run them from our central clinic. And it's a fun, interactive way of getting a group of longevity seekers together. We run through some fun activities. It's very interactive. It's not a lecture where we stand up there and tell you what you should and shouldn't do. But mind you, there are some tips in there. And we do some activities. We do some mind games, some tricks, and some exercise. We get up and get people, testing their flexibility and a few other bits and pieces, and tiny bit of meditation in there. And it is fun. It is a way of sharing some of what we have learned with people. And we do find that we've had really good feedback. People have been really enjoying it and coming away with some actionable items and meeting some more people.
I guess it might even be a good one to get into larger workplaces or to larger organisations where, I think there's a lot of growing sense of well-being and focus in the workplace, and I think that could tie in really well. So
absolutely, yes.
Yes, we've just done a couple of those last week, Jared. We did a 1-hour workshop for District 32. So it can be just a small gathering that lasts for an hour, including question time, or we there's another organisation in Perth called YPO Gold, and there was a group of about 40 people at that workshop, and that is a 4-hour session. So it's about a 2-hour workshop, and then we had dinner, and then we had about a 45-minute Q&A session afterwards with dessert. So it depends on what organizations want, whether they want the longer version or a shorter version, and we can customize it, because a lot of people in the workforce now are wanting their staff to keep working much later than the retirement age. So a lot of people are wanting to invest in their knowledge.
Well, it's changing, isn't it? I mean, people see work transitioning down, and then maybe they work for 4 days and work longer because they love coming to work, love their culture, love the connection with everyone. And, you know, why retire from something that you're really enjoying? You could just transition down and stay longer.
Retirement is one of the worst things that you can do. So, yes, very good to keep using your brain.
Yeah. And if you have a fantastic bookkeeper who's still working into their 70s, and who's been with you for the last 10 years, you actually want to invest in them and keep them, but you don't want their brain to become less sharp. You don't want them to start making mistakes. So that's when people start investing in their staff and in the well-being and the longevity of their staff. That's when they're going to actually get more return on their investment longer term, apart from having happier staff as well.
Yeah, apart from having them live better for longer too. So been a fabulous chat today, and I know we can really keep talking for hours and hours, because we do outside of the podcast, and I'm looking forward to sharing that journey with you guys, and hopefully this can inspire some of our listeners to seek you out at the Longevity Lab, and I'll put all the details in the show notes for them to reach out to you.
Thank you for having us, Jared. It's been a wonderful conversation, and we'll touch base in a year's time, seeing how both of our biological ages are going.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Jared.
Thanks, Mel.
Just a reminder that the information discussed in this podcast is general in nature. As we don't know your specific situation, you should always seek professional advice before taking any action. For free market reports on your suburbs of interest and other helpful resources to grow your wealth, make sure you join my property investor update at investorsedge.com.au/join. And finally, make sure you're a member of our Perth Property Investment Facebook group to be part of the conversation with other like-minded investors, get help to your questions, and get a feel for what's going on out there in the market. I'll see you in the group.